Hi, guys. Welcome to my new podcast. My name is Ben, and I have struggled with alcohol addiction for more than 10 years. Around 2.5 years ago, I managed to finally stop drinking. And looking back, this was the single most important decision I have made in my life so far. So right now, my mission is to share my own experience. And if by sharing my own experience, I get to help at least one person, then my mission is accomplished. So today I have a very special guest. It's my friend and my colleague from work, actually. Her name is Alice. So Alice and I, we met back in August 2020. It was just around the pandemic period. And we met actually through the company we signed up for. The company is called Dyson. So we both started at the same time. Even though we were at different locations, we managed to have some online projects together during the work. And what it was like 1 year ago or 6 months ago, something like that, we actually started working together in the same location, that is Dubai. And but the connection that we have, it's not just because of work. The main connection is actually due to the healthy lifestyle that we both try to lead. And one of the things that Alice is super passionate about, besides the overall healthy lifestyle, is specifically running. She's also building a personal brand of sharing her own experience about running and healthy lifestyle tips on social media. So besides alcohol, we're going to talk about this as well in today's podcast. So yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. Alice, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Before I introduce myself, you just took me to a trip down memory lane a few years ago when we joined Dyson. And I remember you saying at some point, we were just having a chat, and I remember you saying that you don't drink alcohol. And that's quite unusual. Like for me, my circle of friends, the people that I normally mix with, like, or when you're speaking to a colleague at work, for someone to say that, you know, it was quite unusual at the time, and I think that stuck with me, and, you know, maybe something that we bonded over, as I think 2 years ago I wasn't drinking as well. So yeah, that was interesting at the time. But quickly introduce myself. So I'm Alice, as Ben said. I'm from the UK, born, grew up sort of the South Coast area, spent a few years in the United States, and then came back to the UK, spent 5 years of my life in Scotland, up in the north, at university, and then, joined Dyson after graduating, spent a few years in Spain as well, and then ended up here in Dubai. So that's a whistle-stop tour of my life. But yeah, looking forward to having the conversation today.
By the way, I remember you said to me before that you were in US, but how old were you when
So
you
I was
lived
5 till 9.
Okay.
And I do remember quite a lot of it. I really think those were like transformative years for me. Like it kind of started my desire to want to work and travel abroad. So even though I think, you know, these young early years that you have, it really can have a big impact on you later in life.
Okay. Which area of US?
Ohio. Columbus, Ohio.
Okay.
I used to have an American accent.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No.
I can't do it now.
I can't imagine you with an American accent.
Yeah, when I came back, when we just moved back, I actually went on the radio because my grandma like phoned in and they were like, my great-granddaughter speaks like an American accent, and they were all obsessed because when you're American, all the Brits don't love it. But
Okay. But I assume your parents didn't change the accent?
No, just me. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people tell me that sometimes I have either an Italian or Dutch accent, which funny enough, I used to live both in Italy and Netherlands. So I guess I'm not surprised then.
A mixture.
But it's super weird how we adjust to the location where we live in, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, firstly, just super big thanks for being here.
It's very exciting.
I really appreciate the fact that we're doing it. And I think all of my guests so far in the podcast have a very unique experience with alcohol. That's why I thought you would be a great guest as well, because compared to my other guests so far, you also have quite a unique experience. So my first question to you would be, if you could explain what's your relationship with alcohol?
So I think the last time I had a drink was maybe a year ago, but we're talking like one small drink. Like I would say to people that I don't drink, it might just be on a completely unique occasion, like a wedding, a big birthday, going out. I did it something like really weak. And I wouldn't really class it as like having a proper drink. The last time I got drunk was probably a couple of years ago, and that was just like a one-off occasion. But yeah, I think I stopped drinking around 4 years ago now. So I was training for my first ever marathon, which at the time I didn't think I was going to be able to even make 42 kilometers. My dad's a runner, so he sort of said, why don't you sign up for this, give it a go? And I did like running at the time, but not to that extreme. So I signed up, and I quickly realized that the lifestyle that I was leading at the time, I was living in Barcelona, Spain, going out with friends, I couldn't do both. There's no way that you can train for a marathon seriously, running 4 or 5 times a week, and you're going out Friday, Saturday nights with friends. And in Spain, if you know the party lifestyle there, you're getting in at 6 a.m. So you can't get in at 6 a.m. and then go for the early morning run because it's hot. So all of that, I think the early few weeks of me in my training, I realized I think I need almost an excuse to my friends to say I can't go out with them. And that excuse was I'm going to quit drinking for the 4-month period of training for the marathon. So that was sort of the catalyst of how it all started. I didn't really miss it because I was so focused on the goal of the marathon. I made it in the end, did my first marathon. And then after, I kind of just didn't miss like the alcohol in my life. And I still went out with friends, but I found that I didn't actually really need it to have a good time. It meant that I did get in earlier. I could still carry on like running, which was then like a real integral part of my life. And then, since then, I just never really went back to it. I went back to uni for 2 years after that year. And I think at the time when you're in your final years of uni, I don't know, maybe this is just me, but I was really focused on my dissertation, getting the good grades, and I didn't really need to go back to like the partying lifestyle. Since then, it's just not the big part of my life. I don't say absolutely no if I'm in Spain, and I love, I guess, sangria because it's just part of like the culture, and it's with some tapas. Like I might have one, but that's in a blue moon, once every 6 months.
Okay, interesting. I mean, we spoke about it, about kind of like your journey, my journey with alcohol before, of course. But I didn't know that the catalyst for it was actually preparing for the marathon. And funny enough, actually, one of my best friends, which stopped drinking 1 year before me, his catalyst was actually preparing for the half Ironman.
Okay.
So he went on a period of maybe having like one drink in 1 month, but never like getting drunk. And then I guess seeing the contrast between how it is to live a sober life and then how it is to being hungover and underslept.
Yeah.
It's a massive, massive difference.
Yeah. And I would say it's actually my biggest tip if someone wants to give up drinking alcohol, because like you need an excuse, because in that transition period, whoever your circle of friends are, it's normal that they're probably going to be like, have a drink, try and encourage you. And it's really hard. But for me, it was an easy excuse because I was training for the marathon. So they kind of understood that more than just, oh no, I'm not drinking or I'm not having a drink tonight. So they kind of thought, oh, it's like a 4-month period. Like Alice is really focused on this, she's doing that. And then after 4 months, people have kind of got used to it and they're not going to keep saying, do you have a drink? And you won't feel like pressured. So I always think it's kind of good to have an excuse, whether it's for a sporting event, maybe you're giving it up for Lent or whatever reason, to have that, and then you kind of ease like into that if it's something that you want to do.
Yeah, I think that's a very good tip. And same with my story, actually, because when we joined Dyson, and then I still drank at that time, right? So the first 2 months I was still drinking, but not like heavily. So then in October, when I decided to stop drinking, I was lying to everyone that I'm doing like a 30-day no alcohol challenge with my friend. But at that time, all the other people in Dyson already knew me as this guy who likes challenges and this stupid let's say painful challenges. So they kind of understood.
Yeah.
Because I think the social pressure is super huge for alcohol.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was living in a flat with 10 students in Spain where, you know, what else do you do apart from going out on a Friday or Saturday night? And I think it's a shame because I do think like society creates us from when we're 14, 15 into, I don't know, these people that you don't know a life without alcohol. Like I can't imagine what my life would have been like if I hadn't been in that bubble where you're all getting drunk and, you know, that's what you look forward to on the weekends is going out to the clubs. And yes, it was fun. Like I don't regret it. And I think everyone kind of has to go through that stage of their life.
Yeah.
But the problem is people stay in that, like, okay, you're 18, you go to uni, you come out of uni, you go into a job that maybe people don't enjoy. So they're just looking forward to that, like escape on the weekends. Your mid-20s, you're still doing that. Like at what point do you actually kind of realize, no, like this isn't like what I want? But I think from such an early age, society, it's like the societal pressures that everyone's doing it. This is what you do. This is what is a good time, that you don't know the alternative.
Yeah, really good point. Because I saw a very funny meme a couple of days ago saying that being at uni is like you're an unemployed alcoholic, but your parents are still proud of you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just expected that you're going to party and drink a lot.
Yeah.
And this is why during my student years, I also was never questioning my heavy drinking, because I just was like, yeah, it's completely normal. But then when I went to actually start working for a corporate company, this is when I realized, okay, the student years are gone, but I'm still continuing doing that, right?
But, you know, also when you're at uni, like your weekdays merge into weekends, you have quite a lot of time off at the time you don't realize. But like, you know, now we're in jobs, you're like, wow, like I had so much time at uni. And so you have time to sleep in, to get over the hangover. You go to lectures, you can chill out in the evening, whatever. When you're like working 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, your 2 days and your weekends are precious. Like those are the 2 days that you have in the week to really do. Hopefully you're in a job that you love, but you know, to really do what you love on the weekend, spend time with loved ones, whatever it is. And I think that, like you can't be wasting any of those 2 days in each, like in the week. So if you're drunk, you're hungover, then that's like your 2 days gone if you go out on a Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah, I totally agree. So how old were you when you were preparing for your first marathon?
So I was middle of uni, so like 22-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And do you remember the first time getting drunk? Like how old were you? What was the setting?
I think it must have been like 14, 15 at one of these parties at school where you're all getting drunk on like WKD, Caribbean Twist, these things which really are not that alcoholic, but it's almost like everyone's excited because it's like the first time. And it's just, a load of like young teenagers all in like someone's back garden, like party, getting drunk. And it is fun. Like, you know, it is like the unknown, the curiosity, like, it's like an escape from real life, right?
Yeah. Thinking about like what kind of advice should we give to our future children? I don't know if you ever wish to have children in the future. I certainly do. And I think about these things like how am I gonna give advice to my kids? Because at one point, on one side, I shouldn't lecture too much about it, given the fact that I went through a lot of party years and I did a lot of things that I wouldn't advise my kids to do. But on the other hand, you also want to be a responsible parent. So if you could imagine now that you have 2 kids and they're just turning 12, 13, 14, what would your advice be to them in terms of alcohol?
I completely agree with you. Like you can't lecture too much. And I think everyone has to have their own path. They have to experience it. Like if someone had forced me at some point to say, oh, you have to stop drinking, then I probably would have never given up drinking. Like you have to discover that for yourself. And I'm not saying that I would hope that they don't drink, because I think people can drink, you know, like smaller amounts and getting crazily drunk all the time. And like that can be a healthy part of your lifestyle. Like if you do manage it and you have balance, if you want to have a couple of drinks. Both my parents drink and they like enjoy it. My dad's a big runner, like always, you know, doing exercise, but he also loves a beer. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, but I think in our society people just take it too far and too much. So I'd hope that my children would have those fun years and then they would kind of realise that actually there's other things in their life that take up a lot of time, you know, whatever their purpose is, that you can't really do that by partying all the time and drinking all the time.
Yeah, fair enough. For me, it's also just staggering some of the information that is available right now. I was watching a podcast from Andrew Huberman, who is a well-known now neuroscientist, saying that now it's even scientifically proven that even one drink before you go to bed completely disrupts your sleep, which is then the key to your recovery and your mental development, physical development. So, you know, one part of me is also thinking if in 10, 20 years, when you have kids, when they are at a certain age where they want to start drinking, maybe the information out there is going to be so much more available and widespread that I hope that alcohol is going to become like cigarettes right now.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Because, I mean, if you think about it, like 20 years ago, everyone was smoking.
Yeah.
Well, right now, if you're smoking cigarettes, it's kind of like, what? Why are you doing this? Right?
Yeah.
It's like completely, it's completely
Taboo.
hurting you. Yeah. Even though, I mean, vaping is the same shit.
Yeah, that's the problem though. It's just because it's cool as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of people doing it because it's cool. That's what people in society are doing. So it's similar to alcohol, I think.
Yeah, indeed. So something that you mentioned before, it's the social pressure of drinking, right? So after you went through that period of preparing for marathon, do you recall any additional social pressure to force you to drink alcohol after that, and how you dealt with that?
Yeah, so when I went back to uni, I think I definitely remember times of me being worried that people would think I'm boring because like I didn't drink, and it doesn't mean that you can't socialize, you can't go out still just because you're not drinking. But I do remember that like crossing my mind, and it was quite hard to manage, like whether you just don't go out, so you kind of avoid that situation. But I did go out with friends, and I think it just is a reflection of the people that you hang around with. If you're with friends who accept that you don't drink and won't put pressure on you, and if there are, then maybe you have to question like whether you're hanging around with the right group of people. And I think definitely my lifestyle now, like quite a few years on, has changed in terms of who I spend my time with, like what my socializing like activities are that I do that aren't related to sort of drinking. So now I probably would meet up with like a running group, or I would go for like a brunch, or go for like nice dinners, go for walks, things that don't really like involve drinking at all. And that's just how my life has sort of changed and the people around me.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. We don't need to be forced to do anything we don't want to just because of the peer pressure. I know it sounds very harsh, but you can find a new group of friends if this is really actually the only thing that's connecting you, drinking alcohol, right?
Yeah,
and like, if you don't do it anymore.
I get it, because at the time it's hard because you're in that time in your life with the people who are around you, so it is hard to like break out of that. But now 4 or 5 years looking back, I'm like, wow, like now I'm proud to say that I don't drink. Like if I meet new people, you build this strength in you to be like, no, this is me, this is what I want, I don't care what other people say. And if I meet someone new or I'm in a new situation and they like try and make me drink, then I just say no, I don't. And like, I don't know, deep down like why you're doing it, and that you have like a bigger purpose which like serves you, that's not like the reason why you don't drink. And now if someone asks you, you can just be like, let me send you a link to my podcast. You'll understand why. But they don't. That's the problem.
Yeah, they
don't. A lot of people don't understand.
Yeah, I at the beginning, sometimes I try to explain myself, but I try to do as little as possible these days, because I just don't see the point. And I feel like when people are ready for change, they will actually reach out to you and ask you questions. For example, maybe they will ask him questions about alcohol. They will ask you questions about running, healthy lifestyle, etc.
Yeah.
Right?
So it was something interesting you said to me about explaining to people why you don't drink. And you said you have to be careful you don't come across as condescending.
Yeah.
And I never thought about it like that. And I thought it was very interesting. And it's true, because I don't want to come across as I'm better than you. Like, it's just a completely different way of thinking, a different lifestyle. But I think it's like, once you experience the other side, then you kind of realize how much better you feel. Like, when you tell someone I do it because I feel so much better, mental clarity, sleep better, I can then go running, I can do this exercise, get up early, all of these things. They don't, like, no one can truly understand that until they've seen both sides. So it is hard, like, when you are explaining your sort of the reasons why to people.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is that sometimes when you experience that contrast, you also have a tendency to share it. But yeah, I try to be as empathetic as possible, even though sometimes it's super hard, and I'm maybe just not aware of how am I influencing other people. But yeah, just trying to do my best. So one thing that I also wanted to mention, right, about finding your passion, your interests, and then building a social circle around that. I guess it's not super easy for everyone, right? I will say that we are in a blessed position of living, for example, in Dubai, where it's a huge city with a lot of people internationally, and you can actually find, like, if you want to just party, you can just party. If you want to just do sports, you can just do sports. Like, you will find people anywhere. So what would you say to someone who's living in a tiny little town in UK, and they are living totally unhealthy, and they want to completely rebuild their new life, not just with drinking, but with everything? What would your advice be to them?
I mean, we live in the digital age, right? Social media, and as much as that comes with the negative things, it also comes with the positive. So you might be in the middle of nowhere, but you have access to all of these, like, amazing influencers who actually, I'm not talking about the fake sort of ones, but the people, like the real people who are actually giving really good advice, who are really, like, positive, uplifting when you see their content. And, maybe it's whether you want to get into a sport, you want to start healthy eating, like, you can go and find accounts and you can follow these people and you can get, like, daily tips to start making those changes in your life. What's another tip? I think there's ways, like, to be digitally connected to people. Obviously, I prefer, like, in-person, real-life connections as well, but that's a good starting point, I think.
Yeah, definitely a good point. Unfortunately, I feel like social media is using us in many ways, in a negative way. But you can definitely use that in a positive, like you just mentioned. And there is a saying that you become like the 5 people you hang out the most with.
Yeah.
But these 5 people could all be 5 podcasters, right?
Yes.
They don't need to be actual physical people in real life.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good first step. But then the second step, I would always say, just move the fuck out. Yeah.
Move to city.
Yeah. Even though, I understand. Sometimes a financial situation of someone is not...
But there's always communities, like, wherever you live. I mean, I can't think of anywhere where you'd literally be a one person in a house in the middle of nowhere. There's always going to be these small communities. And I mean, I know we're both sports lovers, so this is our go-to as, like, where to go to. But there's got to be a gym, there's got to be a tennis group, a football group, whatever it is, a running group. I think you can find that somewhere that you can go to. And actually, I've seen pop up in running specifically a lot of, like, content creators, influencers who are creating running groups. So there's all of these popping up, all over the UK, wherever it is. So I think you can find that. You just have to look, and you have to be brave to sort of go along alone, which I know that, like, that can be quite hard. But just once you do that, then you create those, like, closer connections with people and those friendships. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good point. I agree. So obviously we mentioned at the beginning also that one of your biggest passions is running, and you mentioned how this was also kind of like a stepping stone into your alcohol-free lifestyle. What does running mean to you right now? And second question, do you think it's an addiction?
It's a good question. I don't think I'm addicted to running, and I'll tell you why. There's been a few times in periods of my life when I have been running almost every day, whether it's been training for a marathon or just I am like very diligent in running or doing exercise every day. And I have thought, my goodness, like I could not imagine my life without running. And also, like, what happens if I go skiing and I break my leg, or, you know, if I'm injured, like, what would I do without running for like a period of time? So you could think, oh, those are tendencies to, I'm addicted to this, like I couldn't live without it. But then there also have been times in my life when I've had to take a week, 2 weeks off, maybe illness, for whatever reason, and actually I'm fine, and you get through it. And I think the reason why I'm okay with that is because running is such an ingrained part of my life. I'm not scared to take time off because I know that I'm going to get back into it. You know, some people, like, they stop doing something and then they're really worried that they're not going to be able to get back into a routine. Like for me, I think it's stuck with me forever. Like I'm going to do it every day because I absolutely love it. It's just part of me. And so, yeah, I don't think I'm addicted. I think I've got a healthy balance and I can take time off. But I also know, like I've learned to listen to my body more. And sorry, going back to your first question about like what it means to me now, like it's everything, because it's not just like a sport, something that you do each day. It shapes who I am, and you know the feeling when I go running in the morning, that sets me up for the rest of the day. Like all the endorphins, the hormone balancing, whatever it does to you, it's amazing. I guess it's a bit like a drug, and yeah, like it really does like make me positive. You see me coming into the morning into work, like exactly, just like dancing
fired
along,
up,
like, and it's like something that you like pushes you, it challenges you. Like when I'm training for a new race, when you're at these races and you see the running community and the people cheering, like these are like nothing like you experienced before. Like the feeling of crowds. Spain do it fantastically. Like when you're at the start line, they have music, DJ, and it's just incredible. You did the Dubai run here, where over 150,000 people all on a start line, all running together, you know, different abilities. It doesn't matter if they were going to do the 10K in a ridiculously crazy amount of time or they were like walking, jogging. It's everyone doing movement. And yeah, I think whatever it is, I think sport should be a part of everyone's lives, whatever that looks like. If it is just walking, yoga, running, intense CrossFit workouts. But yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know what's funny? That, I mean, I was never part of the 12-step alcohol AA program, but a lot of people that I know, one advice that they give them is that they start running, but specifically running, not any other sports. So a lot of ex/recovering alcoholics, they go crazy into running because of the certain endorphins that it gives them. But I would also say, and this is just my opinion, is just the mental challenge that you have to go through. That's why I'm not a big runner, but I'm still like very attracted to it and attracted to some of your stories that you were telling me about, almost like feigning. Actually, you did feign, and I don't know, when I hear people like Rich Roll or David Goggins, I think some of these mental challenges that you go through, especially when running, I mean, I've never did it, but when running a marathon or ultra marathon, this is something that's it's crazy.
I can't even begin to describe what it's like in those last 5-10 kilometers of a marathon. Like I think your body actually erases like the pain and like what you go through. I think that's the thing, right? After childbirth, women forget like the trauma and the pain. I think it's the same with the end of the marathon, because if you are so committed to a goal and you're someone that doesn't give up and you don't stop, you know, start walking, and you really do like go through that pain cave, it's something else. But then I think you come out at the other end, and once you've done that, you think you can do anything. So it is a really good challenge. So I guess, giving up alcohol those, I can't speak, from experience, but what I imagine it to be like, that the cravings, feeling the need to drink, but stopping yourself. That's the same as when you're running, when you're like, I need to stop, I need to walk, I can't keep going at this pace.
Yeah.
But then your mind says no, like, and you just have to find a way to keep going.
Yeah. It's like your body's telling you something, and then your mind is dictating what you decide to do, right?
Yeah. Running is such a mental game.
Yeah.
And especially the training, like getting up every morning, I guess it's the same for you. Like when you get up early, the alarm goes off, like that decision of whether you got to get out of bed or you just carry on sleeping, and you're doing that every day. And we're lucky in Dubai, like with the weather, but I've trained in some much worse conditions in the UK, in Scotland, pouring rain, wind, and it's not, you don't love it every day. It's not nice sometimes, but you do it because you have that like purpose and that goal. And it does make it all the more special when you do finally achieve it on that day, because you think back of the journey and everything that you've been through.
Yeah. I cherish actually the days when I don't feel like working out, because I do work out same like you every day. But now it became such a big habit. I feel like my brain instinctively knows that, we're going to get some really nice endorphins. Yeah. So you kind of enjoy it throughout the process. But there are some days when I'm just, I really don't want to do it. But it's a great way to build on your self-discipline and to go through that uncomfortable feelings, let's say.
Yeah, we got to get you to sign up for a marathon. That's my next mission.
Let's start with a half marathon, okay? But half marathon, I actually really want to do, yeah. So how many marathons have you done so far?
So I've done 2. I've done quite a few half marathons. It all started with Edinburgh Half Marathon. My friend was signing up for a charity and said, do you want to do it? And as I started to train, my dad being do it. He does lots of running, always follows really meticulous plans. He gave me this meticulous plan to follow, and I started getting addicted to it. The getting faster, the ticking off. Yes, I've done this distances, I've done this pace, and I hit my sub 2 hours target that first time round. It was that buzz, and then it was the following year that I did the first marathon, which was amazing. I did sort of fall over the finish line and ended up in the medical tent for a few hours. But yeah, did recover, carried on running. I had an interesting period of time when I was training for some more half marathons, and I was actually almost felt like I was going backwards. So my times were kind of longer. I did one that was over 2 hours, and that was really interesting. So it was like learning actually like what are the right plans, what are the right training runs that I should be doing. And then I changed sort of the way that I did that. So I learned about MAF, heart rate training. So changed that, and then signed up for my second full marathon, which was kind of in COVID time. So it was actually really good because you do have to give up a lot of your time. And luckily we weren't doing anything. We were all sort of home, stuck in our homes, could go out for a run. So that was my big focus. And I did sub 4 hours, which was like my big goal, big dream to do that. But again, I had some challenges, I think, like around nutrition and just underestimating how much of a toll it takes on your body, the rest needed, recovery. So my next goal is to get sub 4 hours, but to be finishing over the finish line and not end up in a medical tent again. So that's the next challenge.
Okay. Do you ever see yourself doing more, like ultra marathon?
I don't. I think I would maybe do it for fun. I don't think anyone's ever said that. Just to try it out, like the curiosity.
Not like timing it.
No, and I think that's the beauty of the marathon. It's like that distance where it's so much time, effort, dedication gone into it because you're working to a time as well. But I think then once you go beyond that, then you just kind of do it. I don't know.
Just for fun. Just for fun. I totally understand, but it's a funny thing, this word fun, right? Because something that you said before, you were very afraid when you stopped drinking that people would think that you're boring. And I also was dealing with that, let's say, challenge internally, because sometimes people would ask me and would say, oh, so now you don't drink anymore, you don't eat like chocolate and cake anymore, you don't go out anymore, so what do you do for fun? And in my head, I was thinking, I don't know, I fucking love CrossFit, I love swimming, I love running, working out with the right people, just like being on this healthy streak, you know, healthy lifestyle. But again, that was in my head because I didn't want to say that out loud. Again, not to be condescending towards everyone else. So what's your definition of fun? And what would you say, how do you, like, what's your funnest way to spend the weekend?
I think when you're having fun, you're happiest, you feel like mental peace, clarity, you laugh, you're with people who make you laugh. For me, like eating good food is like, I have a big deep appreciation for good food. So, you know, I'm having fun if I'm going out for a really nice brunch, really good meal. This weekend has actually been very fun. Yesterday morning, I went for a run with a running club. So getting to meet new people. There was a guy from London who was just here for the weekend. So he, you know, came along, joined, had a really interesting story, started his own business. You know, like when do you get to have these conversations with people randomly? And then went to this wellness space and did this yoga class. So exploring new cool places like that with a friend and just feeling really chilled out. Like I think that's my kind of fun now. I think it's society has created the idea of what fun is, and that's just this one like the box that fits all that, oh, you have to be drunk and partying. And actually I think they almost take it to the extreme that you have to have like thrown up after a good night, after a night to have had a good night out. And that's like the one thing that we grow up thinking that is what fun is, partying. But it's not. There's so many other definitions of fun.
I fully agree. I fully agree. And, you know, I do sometimes feel like I'm at a party when I'm working out, especially if it's like good music and good people around it and it's like a vibe.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, it's like a party, but it's 10 a.m. and it's Saturday.
And I'm in a lot of pain right now.
I'm in a lot of pain, but it's a kind of like a perverted pleasure in that pain. So that's super, super interesting. But so do you still ever go to like parties / clubs nowadays, or that's completely part of the past?
I did a boat party in Dubai. So I guess that's kind of like, it's like a moving club, isn't it, on water? So that was good fun. But it's actually, in Dubai, it's really interesting because there's a lot more people who don't drink, I think either for religious reasons or whatever. So I really felt comfortable. Like on that boat party, I was with a group of people that I didn't really know. I went along with a friend, and there at no point did anyone like force me to have a drink. Like they'd actually brought along non-alcoholic drinks for people who don't drink alcohol. So that was really nice. That was fun. Like if it's good music, I love like Spanish reggaeton music. And there's a lot of Spanish people on the boat. So yeah, like we had a really good time, and you just don't even miss. I don't know how you could have alcohol on a boat, because I think I would just be sick. Like the thought, I think there was some people being sick off the side. But I don't really go to clubs anymore because I think like late nights, I'm a bit of an old granny now, like in bed, 9 o'clock, gonna get up. Like yesterday morning, I was up at 4:30 to go for this run because we were like going for the sunrise run. You just can't, I don't think you can do both. Like the nature of clubbing, partying is that it's late in the evening. Yeah. So I know there's brunches here, but that's just, not really my vibe anymore.
Yeah, I understand. But I do appreciate also what's happening in Dubai. I mean, I don't go out as nearly as much as I used to. But here, you have the boat parties and the brunches and the beach clubs, which is normally all during the day.
Yeah.
And for me, if I'm with good people and good music, like some people will think I'm still so drunk because I can just like be completely loose and dance and have fun, be very social. But when it's like 1 a.m. or something, I'm like, guys, I'm done. Like this is, it's like, I can't, I really can't.
Imagine when you were 14, 15 and like drinking wasn't a thing. And we'd all still go to clubs and we'd all dance and we'd party and have a good time. You wouldn't feel awkward because you didn't know what it was like to not be drunk. Yeah. So we've now got this perception, oh, I'm not drinking and I'm going to dance and I feel awkward just because you're comparing it to when you did have alcohol and you kind of didn't really have a care in the world. So that's what's interesting, I think, if you grow up without it.
Yeah, very interesting. And also, I just think one thing might change because, I don't know, when you go to more like a lounge party, open air party, the music is loud, but I feel like you can still have a conversation. But in some of these clubs I was going, like even when you're standing like this, like you have to shout to talk to people. And normally we would go there to potentially meet a partner, you know? This is, for a lot of people, the main purpose of going out and clubbing. Okay, it's hang out with your friend, but then meeting women or men, etc. So it's just such a bad place to do that. You know?
Yeah.
It's better if you go to a yoga class and you have a nice conversation, right? But it's, again, brainwashing.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Do you think you could... I mean, potentially if you meet someone there, the likelihood is that they do drink, because the majority of people who do go out there are probably drunk or drinking. Do you think you could be with someone who drinks like a lot more than you do?
No. This is now... When I initially stopped drinking, I thought that wouldn't be a problem, but I had some experience and I really don't mind if she's having a drink or even two, or even three at the dinner we're having.
No more than three.
Yeah.
Your count.
But actually getting drunk, this is a no-go. And also like partying too much, it's also a no-go, because it's completely misaligned with my lifestyle. And then also coming back to the lifestyle, it has to be like a healthy lifestyle, gym, nutrition, etc. Because I feel like, okay, when it comes to working out, I'm on a very like strict path, and I know even if my friends and my potential partner, she's not working out, I would still work out every day. I can't imagine not doing that. But when it comes to food, if there's like a lot of shitty food around me, eventually I will be like tired and I'll be like, okay, let me eat it, right? So
yeah, like I think working out and eating well makes you your best self. So you have to both be like your best self for a best like relationship to work, I think. Yeah.
I fully agree. I mean, you're fully aligned with your boyfriend, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to the lifestyle, he's also a big, massive, passionate lover, right?
Yeah,
a runner.
running.
Yeah. yeah. Both. Yeah. That was funny. Yeah.
Runner. No, he doesn't drink. He occasionally will have what he calls a blowout, you know, maybe once a year.
Yeah.
Like if he goes out with friends or whatever, and if you just get it, I think you do it and then it just reminds you why you don't drink. So that's what I've done before. Like I think a year ago when I was still living in Madrid, we went out and I just remember walking home at like 3 a.m. and the next morning I was like, this is why I don't drink. Like I feel terrible. Like I would have still had the same night if I hadn't have drunk. Like I still would have had a good time, and it's just like it's good in a way to just give yourself that reminder of all the reasons why you stop drinking as well.
By the way, now that you mentioned Madrid, I remember because I had like 2 trips in the last year to Madrid, and you were still living there, so we were always hanging out by running, of course. I really appreciated that time that we had together. But I do remember one morning I went running by myself in the streets of Madrid, and it was a Saturday morning.
I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, so 6 a.m. The sun was not out, but 6 a.m. I was like in the center, so many people still out and drinking. I was like, what the hell is happening? And I was there in my like hoodie. It was even a bit raining, I remember. And I was thinking, actually, at that point, I was thinking, oh, I I'm on a right path.
Yeah.
Let's say, right?
That was very typical for me because I'd always go out running like early mornings, and I lived right in the center. So I lived next to Capital, one of the biggest nightclubs in Madrid. And every morning I would see people stumbling. But it's not just people who've got drunk and had a good time. It's, you know, when you've gone too far. And it's kind of sad because I think at some point you should learn to, you know, what is your limits? And they're just way beyond that, like being sick, violently sick on the side of a road. And yeah, I think, yeah, I was grateful to be the one that was going for my morning run, feeling really good, not being sick down a gutter.
Yeah, just waking up, having like 7-8 hours of sleep, and then going for a run. Again, it's the contrast that you see. But yeah, it also brought a lot of memories from my past, which was, I guess, a good thing in that moment. Yeah. So besides running and the healthy lifestyle, also like when I see you at work, you're always doing so many things, so many different projects, always up for a new thing, always up for a new challenge. So I feel like you have almost like an endless motivation to do things and to be a better version of yourself. So I'm just wondering if you ever thought about what's your main driving force in your life. Is it coming from a positive place, or is it coming from more of a dark place, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's hard to describe what it is. It's something that's just inside of me. It's like this burning passion to keep self-developing, being challenged, try out new things, travel to new places. Like with work, I've moved around a little bit. Was in the UK 3 years ago, then Madrid, now here. It's like that excitement for life, just to see like what's around the corner, what's next. I think it probably came from my parents. And as I mentioned before, living in the United States from early on, I think it opened up my eyes to the world that's out there. And it's not just little old England. And there was different people to meet, different cultures to experience, completely different ways of life to live depending on, you know, what country you're in. So I think from then my dream when I was younger was to go to university in America. That didn't actually end up happening for one reason or another, but, you know, ended up going to Scotland. And as part of that, I did my year abroad in Barcelona. So it's always been like trying to go down the route less traveled, like do things differently. And I mean, what is life if you're not trying to squeeze every single last bit out of each day, you know? You only get one life. So that's just, I think whenever there's something new that's like an opportunity, you just have to seize it.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you. I would like to experience life to the fullest, and also having as many diverse experiences as possible. And actually one thing that came to my mind right now is, I know this might sound very weird and even selfish, but one of the reasons why I want to have kids is also because I want to experience having kids, just for the experience itself. I feel like you are then missing out on one super positive, negative, like very interesting experience that is with having kids.
Absolutely. It's like today coming on this podcast is something that I've never done before.
Yeah.
Like you just say yes, like why not go for it? And going back to this sort of partying, drinking lifestyle, I think that's something that it's often like a repetitive thing in people's lives. So people in the UK, typically you go to the pub every Friday, Saturday night, you'll go out clubbing, you know, to the same place every week. Why would you do that when you could, I guess running to say I'm running every morning, but you know, you like there's so many other things in life that you have a chance to explore if you do open your horizons, like go and try new things. Like recently I've just started swimming after 15 years since I learned when I was like little, and just thought, you know, why not? It's a different sport. Let's go for it. Let's try it. Started like running with running groups because normally I'm quite like a sole runner. But I thought, you know what, let's go and try and like meet new people. And you just do these things, which I think if you're in a certain like lifestyle of just partying and doing that thing, you don't really expand your horizons.
Yeah. By the way, do you think you experience a lot of stress in your life regarding work or also any other things? And what are some of the ways that you're dealing with stress, given the fact that you don't drink and party anymore, which we all know it's a great,
Yes.
great stress reliever?
I think I am quite a stressy person. Like,
okay.
as you said, I do a lot of things. I don't say no to a lot. So I do feel like I have a lot going on all the time. It's something that I'm trying to work on, definitely. Just trying to think like the bigger picture. Like I'm very grateful for my life, like everything I'm doing. There's nothing really that I actually have to be stressed about, but it's easy, isn't it, day to day to get caught up when you're in work and you've got 10 million things to do, and then you got to go this when you get home. And you know, it's just the lifestyle we lead nowadays, I think, like being super busy. Like exercise and running is absolute foundation that I have to do because it just is like a natural stress reliever, right?
Yeah.
So that's like definitely one thing. Yesterday, going to this yoga place, I've never felt so zen in my entire life. It was incredible. It was just a deep stretch class. So it wasn't like I'm going to go and do yoga, because even yoga classes can be quite hard, like workout. It was an hour in this heated room with like music, the most amazing instructor, and just kind of like mindfulness, a bit like meditation, but stretching, and just felt so, and I was like, I need to make more time to do this in my life. Like it's just 1 hour that you could do each week to really like clear, reset. So yeah, I think that's another thing. I think like scrolling social media, being on your phone, like constantly doing things, like sometimes it's good to just put your phone down, either like read or listen to a podcast, go for a walk, things like that, when you're just like just doing one thing at a time, not thinking about anything else. It was quite good.
Yeah. By the way, was that like a hot yoga? Because you said it was heated.
Yes, there was like panels on the roof that was like solar panels, and it wasn't super hot, but my friend who was there, she said that this isn't hot. Like it's not as hot as hot yoga, but I was I was sweating quite a lot. But it was good. It felt like all the like toxins and stress was like melting away.
Okay. Yeah, I had the same realization during the, how is it called? Dubai 30-day fitness challenge. Dubai Fitness Challenge, right? I went for a couple of yoga classes. I mean, I do every day my yoga slash stretching, but doing that for like 45 minutes, 1 hour, I also had this thought of saying, wow, I should do this more often. It's just like a reset button, right? Yeah. And I also agree with what you said about the lifestyles that we lead. Also with me, it's like always, even during the weekend sometimes. It's like, okay, I do that. So it's like every hour has to be perfectly squeezed. But then when I'm super stressed because of that, I just try to think about the fact that if I wouldn't have a life like that, I would probably be bored as fuck.
Or unhappy.
And I would be like, oh, now I want to have a drink, you know?
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Like the boredom is also, it can be a problem.
I think like I come into some Monday mornings after the weekend, I'm like, I felt like I haven't had a weekend, like I'm exhausted. So I think it's more not about being busy, but it is making sure like you have enough sleep, so you are like really rested and not tired, and like getting nutrition right. That's like a big struggle of mine, I think, because of like running and just making sure you're eating like those super like nutritious stuff so you have the energy, because then you can do all those things and you don't feel like so exhausted.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. So what's next for you in terms of running and healthy lifestyle? Well, like what are some short-term goals you have as well as some long-term goals?
So in terms of actual running, I think I'm ready for my next marathon. I did take quite a big break off since the last one. As I mentioned, I kind of had a few like health issues with that, like really struggled with the training because I was giving it my absolute all, but I don't think the training was there, and I was vegetarian at the time. So that probably wasn't me getting all the protein and recovery and everything that I needed. So I've taken a bit of time to like recalibrate, try focus on those things, and hoping to do London Marathon next year. So I'm in the ballot, but I think I've been in the ballot about 6 years. So let's see if I'm lucky this year. So that will be April next year. Going to do a half marathon in Oman, Salalah, in September. So that's just like a short term, keep up the base of running, try and scrape a few minutes off of a PB. And as you mentioned before, I just started to share my experiences on social media. I've always loved being creative, like really creative person, love like photography, creating like reels. I've always had that love. And then I realized I've been running for quite a few years. I had a lot of experiences with like struggling with the nutrition, learning about how to do the right training plans to get to like where I've been. Like I would say the magic sub 4 number is something that a lot of people like want to hit. So I thought, why don't I put those two together and sort of start my Instagram page, sharing my experiences, like hoping to connect with other runners, because the running community is amazing. And when I first moved to Dubai, I didn't know anyone at all here. And I was doing a lot of runs solo. So I thought it was a good way to connect with other people during that period of time. So yeah, I'm just going to keep doing that and see where that takes me.
Okay, that's very exciting. So when is the next half marathon in Dubai? So I need to sign up.
Yeah, but you know, the Dubai marathon is not the one. It's basically in the desert for 42 kilometers with no people.
Okay, that's a bit boring.
So yeah, I wouldn't advise that one. Maybe Abu Dhabi. We can check out Abu Dhabi or RAK. RAK half was very good, but yeah, I'm always up for a 10k half marathon here.
Have you ever experienced any like proper injuries?
No, touch wood.
Yeah.
I have been fine so far. As I said, it's more the I think my immune system was always quite low when I was training.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, I haven't quite got things worked out in terms of pushing myself too hard, not enough recovery. So I would get ill quite a bit, and I would still push through. Like when I've got a marathon and I've got a goal, it used to be quite hard for me to like really listen to my body and pull back from the training and rest. So then I would like push it, and I felt like I was getting ill quite a bit. And then I'd have maybe kind of like dizzy spells. So that's kind of my version of like the injuries that I've kind of had like suffered with. But hoping this next marathon block, I'll start to improve on that and get things a bit better.
Okay. By the way, do you ever feel like, and you can focus on running or also other sphere of lives. But when you set a goal, right? Let's say for running, you have a goal that you want to do this marathon right now. And then when you achieve it, do you have like a small period after that when you're like, so what the fuck should I do right now? Or you already have it pre-planned that as soon as you achieve the goal, you know that you're going to have another goal after that? Because I feel like sometimes when I achieve a certain goal, either with career, sports, personal life, maybe after achieving that goal, I'm not as satisfied because I don't have the purpose anymore.
I think it definitely, and they say it was the gold medal syndrome, like you get the gold medal and then straight away, like 5 seconds after, you just like that feeling of, I don't know, not despair, but like what's next? Like you're not it's not the elation that you hoped for. And I think I haven't felt that. The majority of my runs, I haven't felt like crossing the line and just been absolutely elated with like what I've done. I definitely think it's in the journey, and like maybe a few months later you look back and that's like a deep sense of like pride within yourself. It's not like a momentary thing like what you'd imagine it to be in the movies, crossing the finish line slow motion and you know you're really, really happy. I did feel when I did the RAK half marathon, it's the first race that I've done that I felt strong throughout the entire run, and I crossed the finish line feeling so happy. Did end up in a medical tent, and that was like a big moment for me. And I think after these things, I just kind of ride the wave. I know that I'm gonna have another goal at some point, but there's no rush to do it. That same day, I could give myself a bit of time to recover. And then, I know that I will always do something next to keep pushing myself. I guess that's in running, like in life. I do think I always have this sense of like, what's next? And sometimes you have to slow yourself down because it is like to be more in the present and enjoy that moment rather than just constantly looking to the future, because then you never really like take in where you are now. But it's definitely an interesting one, like goal setting and like realizing how far you've come, because if you just keep looking forward, you never like reflect back.
Yeah, good one. Okay, one last question to wrap it up. I know you mentioned before that obviously occasionally you will still might have a drink of alcohol for whatever reason. Maybe it's like a special, unique occasion. But do you think you will ever get drunk in your life?
Again. Never say never.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point in my hopefully 60 more years on this planet, I will, because I don't know, who knows. Like, as I said, my boyfriend, he has these like blowouts every now and then. I think sometimes you just, in the moment, you just think, fuck it. and you just do it. And then it's a reminder of why I don't do it. So, you know, maybe they're actually good things in the end. But I actually don't like the taste of alcohol. And yeah, like, it's not as if it's something like I'm giving up chocolate or ice cream or, you know, something that I really love. So I would just much prefer give me a Coke, and I'm so much happier. And yeah, I don't think I will ever go back to like drinking kind of consistently. Yeah.
But do you remember if you actually also enjoyed just the feelings of being drunk?
Yeah, I mean, how can you not? I think, but it's the feelings of being drunk is like the whole environment, the mixture of being in a cool place with cool people, music. Like, it's not just literally those times when you're like, I wouldn't remember the times if I'm just in a living room with like friends, like being drunk. Like, I think the good times are when you're at a cool club, great music, in like Barcelona, or, you know, that's the times that I remember. And I think that's just nostalgia. Like, you're always going to look back on your teenage younger years being like, oh, I'd love to do like have that feeling again, or first year of uni, like, but that's never like gonna happen again. Like, you can't really replicate that. So I think you just have to appreciate like those as good memories, and you are in a different stage of like life now.
Yeah, and actually it would be kind of sad if we would want to replicate that.
Yeah.
Because that means going like a few
back.
levels down. But yeah, I guess it's good that we had that experiences. And I definitely agree with what you said about the setting. Like, I think too many times associate having fun and really these good memories with alcohol. But the thing is that if we wouldn't be so brainwashed by society, and if we would still do these things with no alcohol, just like being at a great setting with great group of friends, great music, and you're just like dancing and being unstifled because you're not following the social norms of being stifled, we would probably have an amazing time. And
do you remember the worst thing is when you get drunk and you go out and you have a bad night because it was shit music, or you're in somewhere that you're like, this is a really rubbish place, and you just go home like early. But like, what was bad about that night? Like, the drinking is the same as all the other nights that you drank, but it's just like the location and the whole atmosphere. So
exactly.
Yeah,
really good point. But I don't know, I never thought about this when I was doing it.
I've just been so annoyed that I was like, I've just wasted drinking, getting a hangover for nothing.
The next day you're like, fuck, I can't, like, I have a hangover and I can't make it up for it, you know. It was not worth it.
It's like when you eat a bad chocolate cake and you're like, this is not worth the calories.
Exactly. It has to be really good. Well, it was a pleasure having you on this podcast. Really, thank you for coming and sharing your own experience. I'm sure the listeners will love it. So I'm sure we're going to do something similar in the near future.
Back for part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Take care.